The show must go on. An interview with New Village Arts Director Alex Goodman. Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. An essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast. My name is Bret Schanzenbach and I'm the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I am your host. I'm very pleased to have with me today Alex Goodman, who's the managing director of New Village Arts. Alex, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, we're very glad to have you. And I can see, you're wearing your colors. We're very proud. Our audience can't see it, but I hear that you herald from the great city of Detroit.
I am. I'm a Motor City, Motown resident from a young age. But that got me into music and entertainment, the performing arts for sure. And so all of that led to the path that I'm on, I suppose.
Yeah. But, My wife grew up most of her formative years in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So
yeah, great town.
Yeah, I got a great affinity for the town. And I think you went to local university right there at Wayne State, didn't you?
Well, grad school at Wayne State. I did my undergrad actually at Western Michigan, go Broncos.
Okay.
And then cut my teeth in Chicago for 5 years before going back to Wayne State for grad school.
All right. And then you jumped right into it. I mean, you got your degree in theater stuff and then you've just been in it.
Yeah. So I actually met my wife in grad school at Wayne State. She's one of 9 kids. So she's the 6th child, the first one born in San Diego. The previous 5 were born in the Detroit area. So she went back to grad school and was able to connect with other family and all that good stuff. And we interned together at La Jolla Playhouse one summer, and the rest is history. I mean, it's just beautiful out here. For a Midwestern boy who endured 30 Midwest winters, San Diego's where it's at.
Oh, how did you make that jump from the Midwest, from Chicago and from Detroit to the La Jolla Playhouse?
Yeah, so, when I was in high school, I thought I would end up being a performer, an actor. And I performed in all sorts of shows. After undergrad, I moved to Chicago and I performed in shows there. I ended up starting a theater company and produced theater. So it was the first time that I didn't make art, but I made art happen, right? I made art possible. And so that was very, very satisfying. After producing some shows, I got an internship with the Steppenwolf Theater Company, world-renowned Broadway producing theater. And that led to me becoming the first full-time managing director of Straw Dog Theater, which is a small storefront, $100,000 budget theater. But I was, it was a very trial by fire kind of situation of I was their first full-time staff member, making $10,000 a year to run a theater company. And it was great. I learned a lot. There was a lot that I figured I was not going to learn on the job, so then I went back to grad school.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And you've been now at New Village Arts for how long?
Coming up on 6 years.
All right.
Yeah.
But New Village Arts, they go back quite a bit farther than that. So tell us a little bit about their history here in Carlsbad.
Yeah, so as we all know, March of 2020, we were to have our gala celebration. That was going to be our big fundraiser of the year. It was to be the announcement of our 20th anniversary season, all those things. And we were cut short, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So we kind of put a pause on that. And the upcoming season will be what we're calling our 20th anniversary season. But yeah, 20 years of being in Carlsbad. Started at a chicken coop in McGee Park.
Wow.
And then we were lucky enough to be housed at the Jazzercise facility for a number of years before finding our home at 2787 State Street, where we've been for about 14, 15 years now.
Yeah, well, from very humble beginnings to quite a lot of success you've had. Since you've already brought up a little bit of the COVID thing, I have to say that I think most people, if they thought about it for a moment or two, can remember what was the last kind of normal thing they did, like maybe the last movie they went to or show they saw or something like that before the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And for me, It was a Murder for Two
Oh, yeah?
at New Village Arts.
Awesome.
We had 3 of our kids with us, my wife and I, and we just had a blast.
Yeah.
What an enjoyable production that was.
That was a great show.
We actually still, as a family, just laugh and think about, the different parts and pieces of that show. It was just hilarious. So, but you guys have also been involved in fixing up, renovating, remodeling. And so tell us what's going on with the theater from that standpoint.
Yeah. So, when I started at New Village Arts almost 6 years ago, we were having conversations about the future of the organization and what it would look like to reimagine the space, to find a place where we could be long-term. For the entire history of the company, we had kind of 3-year leases with 1-year extensions, and it was kind of going on like that for a long time. So the future of the organization was a really exciting possibility. What is the opportunity that we're going to move on to and evolve to the next phase of New Village Arts? And so we had been having that conversation. We had started talking with architects and funders, and we had started to really get the ball rolling at the end of 2018. Where we engaged with the architect. We had our first major funder come in. The Somm Family Foundation gave us our seed money of $250,000 to get us going. And we have since used that to get, we're essentially 80% of the way to our $2.5 million goal.
Nice.
So we're in a very good position to announce to the public, which we've not technically done yet. But by the time this airs, perhaps we will be public.
Right.
For sure. But yeah, the renovation, we've taken the time that we can't make theater to focus on the things that we can work on.
Sure.
And so the theater renovation is one of those things.
And as you kind of envision, this $2.5 million project coming to fruition, so right now it is the coolest, intimate, 100-seat theater. You're so close to the action. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most of those elements will be retained. But what kinds of things do you envision with this remodel and renovation?
So the theater itself is not having a massive transformation. We are investing in sound, in lighting, in the stage deck, and all those kinds of things. It will feel more professional. We'll have more tools and tricks up our sleeves in order to make impressive theater. The majority of the money is going into reimagining the lobby space and the classroom. So since the beginning of NBA, we've always been founded on education as a core component of what we do. We've offered classes for kids as young as 4, for adult acting classes, for improv classes. We've expanded extensively our programs for the neurodiverse community. So folks on the spectrum, autism, Down syndrome, things like that.
Yeah.
And that has gone really, really well. This past year, we've actually been able to add 2 additional classes to the offerings that we've had for the past number of years. So we will be reinvesting in the classroom, programming that more extensively. We'll be reinvesting in the gathering space is the thing that we're most excited about. That as a nonprofit arts organization, it's very important to us to really serve the community. And one of the ways that we want to be able to do that is to open our doors and be available where everybody is welcome. And so that includes, we've hosted the Carlsbad Village Merchants Association has had their monthly meetings in our theater for a long time.
Right.
We've hosted graduation ceremonies. We've done all sorts of things to make ourselves available to the community. And we expect to do much more of that as we extend the lobby space, there will be an additional performance space, kind of a cabaret. So we're going to be able to have local singer-songwriters, jazz combos, open mic, stand-up, who knows what we're going to have there. But we're going to be able to offer the community just much more of what we've been doing for the past 20 years.
Oh, that's great. And, theater, you have the mantra, the show must go on. And last year with COVID, just kind of waylaying everything. You guys didn't stop though. You still
Absolutely
came out with some great art and share with us a little bit about how you pivoted last year and what that looked like.
Yeah. So once we realized that we were not going to be able to do what we wanted to do for a while, at that point, nobody knew how long it was going to last.
Right.
The first thing that we did was we reached out to all of our artists, our performers, our singers, our dancers, our ensemble, and engaged with them about what would you like to do? We want to pay you to share something with the world, right?
Nice, yeah.
And so, we got our Zoom account. We did some Facebook Live stuff. We did a handful of things that way, and we offered kind of very intimate, single person cabaret style performances that lasted anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. So we ended up doing cooking shows. We did dance classes. We did illustration classes. We kind of just asked everybody, what's something that you want to share with the world that would be engaging and interesting, and people showed up with some really interesting ideas, and it was great.
I love that. So is some of that content still housed like on your website or your Facebook page? Or?
It is, yeah. And it was always free to the public. We didn't charge the public for any of those things at the beginning, and it's still all available. We did, as every theater in the country, looked to how do we monetize it.
Sure.
And I think that remains a really tricky wicket to figure out, in a world where you have a $10 subscription to Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus or whatever, how do you rationalize paying $20 for a single performance?
Right.
It's a really, really tough thing to do. And it's never going to be the same quality as Hulu and Netflix and all those other things. So we dabbled. We did a couple of things that ventured into that space, but for the most part, we decided that really wasn't the space that we wanted to be in. We, as I said before, we offered things to the public for free that were performers sharing what they wanted to share, but we stayed away from trying to be something that we weren't.
Yeah. Well, it sounds wise. I mean, we had the same thing as an organization, trying to figure out what's the balance between putting out good quality material that's just free versus trying to charge for it. And as you said, the expectations of the end user, so much was being put out for free. It was hard to do that. But I'm gonna have to go back on your website and look. I have a bunch of artists in my family of all performing and all that stuff, and so I'll have to have them check out that. The one you said about illustration especially caught my ear, so that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, we had a couple of those. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, great. So you continue to evolve, and you continue as an organization to put out content. Of course, as you were leading up to this summer, there was still a lot of uncertainty with the pandemic, come the early part of 2021. So you guys made some adjustments, and you've put together a season for this summer. So share with us a little bit about what you have.
Yeah. So once we knew that this was going to be not short term, the pandemic, we started to look at what our options were to still continue to serve an audience. We looked extensively at what it would look like to produce in a parking lot, in a park, in a drive-up kind of situation. All of those we couldn't really make work financially. There was just too much kind of upfront expense in the technology, some unknown technology things of, are we amplifying very loudly so people can hear from further away? Or are we doing something that you download to your phone? Like, what is this technology going to look like?
Right.
And so ultimately, we wrestled with this question for a very long time. We settled on a wonderful partnership with the Carlsbad flower fields, and that has been phenomenal. That not only did we begin this process with a gorgeous backdrop of the raniculas in full bloom, but we were able to activate that space in a way that they were not otherwise using it, right? Because the flower fields historically has not operated after sunset.
Right.
And so that is our prime time, right?
Yeah.
Once the sun goes down, the lights come up. And so that's when we've really been able to use the space in a way that it's not been used before. So they had an existing venue that was covered, but otherwise just kind of a very simple stage. So we built that out, added our own lighting instruments, our sound equipment, and began with a cabaret series of each weekend was 2 performers that performed kind of Broadway shows, pop songs, told little stories in between. It was a lovely way to test out the space, see how people were going to respond to it, work out our kinks technology-wise, and it ended up being fantastic.
That's great.
That laid the groundwork for us to actually get into, starting in June, a full-on musical Beehive.
Beehive, yeah. And so, and Beehive's it's continuing. It goes all the way through the end of July, I believe, or close to it.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about that production a little bit.
Beehive couldn't be more fun. It is the music of the 60s. So it begins in 1960 and goes all the way to 1969. It starts with the kind of the girl groups of, all of the stuff that you're familiar with of, I've got it here.
Yeah.
It's My Party, The Name Game, Sweet Talking Guy, all that kind of stuff. And then it goes into kind of the Woodstock era near the end. You get into Aretha Franklin, you get into Tina Turner, Janis Joplin. The whole evening is just this fantastic celebration of women in music in America. It gets into some of the cultural touchstones, the historical context, and it's just song after song after song. It's a ton of fun. We've gotten just wonderful feedback from people who come to see it. There was one woman who said, "This was the best night of my life."
Oh my goodness.
And I'm not making any judgments on what the rest of her life has been like, but it was it's a fantastic show.
Oh, that's great. I actually went down to the Lambs Player Theater maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they were doing mixed tape. And it was an 80s, kind of, it sounds like similar to Beehive, but all 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was so much fun.
And it's that nostalgia ain't what it used to be, right?
Right.
But there's something to be said for just having that moment to kind of sit back and experience something that perhaps was part of your childhood.
Yeah.
For those people who didn't experience it, it's still fantastic, timeless songs.
Yeah, timeless.
That you're going to have a great time.
That's exactly it. Those songs are evergreen and ever popular,
yes, absolutely.
And just fun.
And the talent. We just have phenomenal talent. When these women start cutting loose in the second act, singing Aretha and Janis Joplin, it is something to behold. It's really, really special.
Well, we probably wouldn't be doing our job very well if we didn't throw out like how somebody could get a ticket to that.
Absolutely. Tickets are available on the website, www.newvillagearts.org. It does run until July 25th.
Yep.
And there are tickets available for all performances. This typically runs Thursday through Sunday, 7 o'clock shows with matinees on Sunday at 2 o'clock as well. And yeah, it's a great time.
So you guys recently had one of your annual fundraisers. I mean, obviously as a nonprofit, you have a few, but it looks like your golf tournament came off recently. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was. So again, going back to March of 2020, we couldn't have our gala. Our gala was canceled a couple of days before it was supposed to happen.
I remember. I was going to be attending.
Right. Yeah, it was going to be a great surf-themed gala at the
Army Navy
Academy. Right. It was going to be great. Once we knew that was canceled, once we knew that things were going to go a little bit longer than we thought they were, we immediately started thinking about how are we going to have a gala? Mm-hmm. And it became clear pretty quickly that we weren't going to be able to have what we had, right? That indoor party with a beautiful dinner and performances and dancing and all that stuff, it just wasn't going to happen within the time period that we were looking at. So we started to brainstorm about what other ways we could have a fundraiser, and we decided to venture into the world of charity golf tournaments.
Yeah.
And so we had our first golf tournament just a couple of weeks ago at El Camino, the country club there. We had a couple members of our advisory board and our board that were members there.
Sure.
Started talking with them about what it would look like for us to host a charity golf tournament. It turned out that we were the first non-member event that they had since March of 2020.
Wow.
So it was great. We had a field of 72 golfers that played. We had corporate support from local businesses, including Business Payroll Services and Kula and a handful of those folks. And we were able to have a really fun event that raised, over $15,000 for the organization.
Nice.
Which was fantastic. And we're tapping into people who maybe don't know us already, that are golfers and maybe not, strong enthusiasts of the performing arts, but we hope that they'll come back.
Yeah. Well, and golf was one of those activities that thrived during the pandemic with it being outdoors and, you could do the distancing without too much difficulty. And so, that's a great pivot. So after Beehive, what's the next production coming up?
So we have not yet announced the rest of our season, but we will be.
But you can tell us. We're friends.
Yep.
I mean,
So I can tell you that we're going to be doing another big musical.
Nice.
We're going to be doing 2 world premieres. So that's another thing that we've done during this time that we can't produce theater in the way that we want to. We've been working on a holiday musical for the past 2 years called Home. It was initially called Home. Now it's called 1222 Oceanfront Black Holiday Christmas, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's had a couple of name changes. But it's about an African-American family in Carlsbad, actually.
Oh, wow.
And it's their holiday experience, right? And that's something that there are a lot of adaptations of A Christmas Carol.
Sure.
There are a lot of adaptations of, It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
There are so few stories that are told at Christmas time from the African-American perspective.
Ah, interesting.
And so we get the celebration, we get the family together, we get the food, we get the songs. And there's some original music, there's some adaptation of some classics, and it's wonderful. It's a lot of fun. And so our best hope is that we're able to open the new space with that show in November, December of this year, 2021.
Nice.
And then that's followed by the next world premiere that we've been working on for a number of years, which actually came out of our final draft New Play Festival, which is the new play festival we've done for the past 3 or 4 years. Brand new work, mostly local playwrights. This play is called Desert Rock Garden by Roy Sekigahama, a local playwright, and it is about the Japanese internment camps here in California.
Wow.
And so it's just a two-hander, and it's so lovely. It is it's intimate. It's historically illuminating for a lot of people. It also has a lot of heart and some comedy, some humor to it. But it is an older gentleman and then a young orphan, and it's the two of them kind of connecting over and over again during their time at the internment camps.
Wow, that sounds powerful. I mean, both of those sound impactful.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We're really excited about it. It's the kind of thing where, we do a lot of classics. We do a lot of shows that might surprise people in different kinds of ways. But when we're able to do a world premiere, to share a story that's not been told before, it's really wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't spill the beans on the musical, which is fine. We'll let you off the hook there. My wife and I, we actually live right behind Moonlight Amphitheater in Vista. So we have a big soft spot in our heart for musicals. Plus, all our kids have been in musical theater all their lives. So we love the musicals. Well, as I said, Murder for Two was just a scream.
Yeah.
So fun. That's great. And we appreciate you taking some time to come out and kind of update us on everything going on with New Village Arts. And I think not too long ago, you had a pretty special Father's Day. I mean,
I did.
Yeah, share us about that.
Yeah. So my wife and I actually became foster parents about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And so we've had some kids that have been with us under different circumstances for the past 2 years. And then in December of this year, we had our first biological child. And so this year I got my T-shirt that says Fa Thor, and it's got Thor's hammer on it.
Nice.
And it's I've always wanted a family, and this has been a wonderful journey to get to this place where we've got a bunch of people to love and care for, and it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And bringing them up in the world of theater is going to be a lot of fun. I know with our 6 children, they've been all in musical theater, and it's just been a blast. And of course, having the connection between you and your wife in theater, that'll be a lot of fun for them. So, well, thanks again for taking time to come out and join us. I just want to encourage everybody to go to that. You want to throw out that website one more time? Yeah,
just www.newvillagearts.org. We recently overhauled the entire site. We've got new branding. It has some different functionality, but it's got all the information that you could possibly need is right there on the site.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio, and please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.